Another day, another bit of book talk drama. Recently, there were several big book content creators on TikTok who honestly came from other niches. They came from lifestyle niches and moved over to books or created book accounts because book talk was gaining popularity and they just wanted to get the bag. But these several big book content creators are absolutely morally bankrupt because they decided to promote a company called Character AI. They got paid to do this, and trust me, there are many other book content creators, myself included, who have gotten offers like this from AI companies and have completely shot them down or ignored them because we know that it is wrong. But these content creators decided to promote Character AI anyways, and this ridiculous AI company essentially uses the books that they have fed into their AI, which is essentially books that are owned and copyrighted by other authors. They have used their work to feed this AI and produce these self-insert stories where you as the user can get your book boyfriend to talk and interact with you in a story. And the ridiculously funny thing about this is that they use, the language of fan fiction, self-insert y/n. Y/n is this term in fan fiction where it stands for your name, as in you sub in your name in the fic to self-insert yourself. And fanfic has so many amazing qualities to it, and I will never diss fanfic because it's amazing. And actual real people write those stories and they do not profit off them because fanfic is meant to be free, whether it's on fanfiction.net or AO3. Real people who love a certain story or set of characters work within that world or those frameworks to write something new. And that is a really amazing and exciting thing, and it allows readers to find an extension of these worlds and characters that they already love. But this whole Character AI thing profits directly off of the works of actual authors. And I think the saddest thing about this is that these book creators who say that they, love books, that they care about reading, that they support these authors, are essentially getting paid to promote the theft of those authors' works. Recently, Victoria Aveyard even posted this screenshot from Character AI on Threads, and it's literally the description of the male love interest from one of her most popular books. Can you imagine pouring your heart and soul into writing a book and then seeing some other outrageous company feed your work into a computer algorithm to an AI and then spitting out this derivative of your work and directly profiting off of it without any credit to you, without any royalties to you? Like, can you imagine what it feels like to be stolen from in that way? Of course, these morally bankrupt book creators who promoted Character AI are saying that they didn't know about the harms of AI, whether it's the theft aspect, whether it's the environmental aspect, which I think we can all agree is absolute bullshit. But I do think it connects back to this overall move towards anti-intellectualism and this desire for people to just get that next quick fix in the easiest way possible. We live in a world of late stage capitalism where we believe we need to just get the next thing right then, right there, without any regard for other people and their welfare. And so many people in the general public are just falling into this trap, and the book industry is falling along with them. I've only talked so far about these book creators promoting AI, but publishers aren't any better. Publishers have been using AI for book covers recently, and it's been a horrible trend where actual artists' work are being devalued and used to feed these AIs to create book covers. And it's all a means for publishers to essentially save time and money for themselves without any regard or respect for the other artists that they've employed before, for any artists who have contributed to book covers before, without any regard for the environment. Now, I'm not saying that I am someone who is completely against AI. I think there are certain uses for it in the world. However, generative AI, for the most part, steals from existing people's own works and copyrighted work and people's information that they didn't actually consent to be used that way. And it also just generally contributes to an overall decrease in critical thinking and intellectualism amongst the general public. I think we've all now seen the Time article that says ChatGPT may be eroding critical thinking skills according to a new MIT study. Yeah, this was all stuff that we know already, but it was just put and codified into an actual article that people respect a bit more. If you haven't read the article yet, it says how ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. In the course of several months, ChatGPT users got lazier with with each subsequent essay, often resorting to copy and paste by the end of the study. The paper suggests that the usage of LLMs could actually harm learning, especially for younger users. And this exact situation is reflected in authors who are now using AI to write their books and seem to think that this is okay and that this makes their works original, when in fact they are using generative AI that has been trained on the works of other published authors with their works out there. They are essentially amalgamating these styles and the themes and the thoughts from these other authors, and these authors who are using the AIs to help write their books are essentially just trying to find a shortcut towards writing their own book. I truly cannot imagine how you can use ChatGPT to write your book and then think that that is an original piece of work or feel any sort of accomplishment after using it. But of course, publishers will definitely still platform authors who use AI and are also using AI to publish books themselves. Companies like Book of the Month have platformed authors like James Frey, who has admitted to using AI to write his books before. And there's also been talk in the industry on Threads, specifically amongst authors who know things but are not allowed to talk about it because of NDAs and contracts and whatever, who are hinting at the fact that there are definitely AI books that have been written, whether partly by AI or fully by AI, that are getting book deals or being published by publishers, traditional publishers, the big five elitist publishers. And those books are getting these big book deals and the big marketing pushes. I mentioned this before in one of my other videos about how Silver Elite, there's a great question about who this author is, and there's very well the possibility that it might be an AI book. I'm not saying it is, but there's a possibility. And when we think about it from the publisher perspective, it just creates an opportunity for them to remove the author entirely, make even more money on these books, and pander to a commercial mainstream reader audience who refuses to engage critically with their reading and simply wants the same tropes and things over and over and over again for that quick fix. I feel like these are all very obvious things, but there's still a very large group of people out there in the world who think that using generative AI in this way is okay. But if we continuously use these technologies in this way, then what are we doing to the landscape of publishing, to the book industry, to books itself, to reading, to authors? Like, what are we doing to the meaning of art itself? And I don't just mean like visual art, but I mean like the art of books, of writing. Although mainstream media might make you think that you read to just pass the time or just for entertainment, the real reason that you read is to empathize and to connect with other people and with other ideas. The most beautiful thing about books is that it allows you to engage your mind in such a unique way that no other medium of media can let you do. And so when we introduce things like generative AI into the equation, we are eroding that beautiful sense of art that we find in books. And we are eroding our own critical thinking beyond the level that it's already been eroded by social media and just our late stage capitalist world. If you're noticing a different angle, no you don't, because I had more thoughts to add. Now, I haven't even touched upon the harms of generative AI in terms of the way that it reproduces existing biases because it has been trained on existing language, stories, and very often internet language that has a lot of awful, discriminatory, racist, homophobic language. Recently, Fable came under fire for using AI for its character summaries, and there were actual readers and users, real life people, who were getting these awful racist summaries. Fable did disable that feature and then replace them later on with actual person written summaries, but the harm had kind of already been done, and there were a lot of users on the other side of things who were like, so what if one person or two people got an awful racist summary? That was my favorite part of the app. Can you imagine prioritizing your own fun over the actual mental well-being of other people, real people? And yet we have plenty of people who do that, and that is why there will be plenty of people in the comments of this video who are like, generative AI is completely fine. Oh, you use it for your autocorrect and all these other things. Why can't someone use it to write a book? Well, because it's wrong. Like I said, generative AI is trained on all of the existing things that we have out there. These are simply language learning models that reproduce the language that it's been fed. And so when we already have a issue with marginalized folks not getting the book deals, not getting their voices out there, even when they get published, not getting placement in bookstores or in ads or actually being promoted by their publishers when we're already having all those issues. And then publishers are then going and publishing AI written books that probably reproduce this or that biasy and are probably regressing us just another 10 years back. Like, if we're allowing that to happen, then what is this commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion that half of these companies say that they have? Like, if we can't even commit to keeping art and literature completely human, how can we ever get these companies to commit to actually caring about marginalized folks? Now, I don't want to be all, the world is shit and everything's a mess, because I do believe in the capacity of people to actually make a difference and choose differently. That's why I have this channel. That's why I talk about marginalized authors and books from BIPOC authors and queer authors and people who deserve to have their voices heard. I do all this because I believe deep within my heart that we can actually change things. And speaking of doing things and actually trying to make a difference, today on June 27th, a bunch of writers actually wrote an open letter to publishers called Against AI, an open letter from writers to publishers. It's posted on Literary Hub. You can check it out down below. I'll leave it linked down below. And it's a letter that says to Penguin Random House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Hachette Book Group, Macmillan, and all other publishers of America. These are the big publishers, the big five. We are standing on principle. At the simplest level, our job as artists is to respond to the human experience. But the art we make is a commodity, and our world wants things quickly, cheaply, and on demand. Like I said, instant gratification. We are rushing towards a future where our novels, our biographies, our poems, and our memoirs, our records of human experience, are written by artificial intelligence models that by definition cannot know what it is to be human, to bleed or starve or love. AI may be given the appearance of understanding our humanity, but the truth is only a human being can speak to and understand another human being. Every time a prompt is entered into AI, the language that bot uses to respond was created in part through the synthesis of art that we, the undersigned, have spent our careers crafting, taken without our consent, without payment, without even the courtesy of acknowledgement. In our writing, we drew on our lives, the losses of our parents, the births of our children, every love affair we've lived or imagined, stories of human heroism and human depravity. These stories were stolen from us and used to train machines that, if short-sighted capitalist greed wins, could soon be generating the books that fill our bookstores. Is this the end goal? To fully remove us from the equation so that those at the very top of the capitalist structure can profit even further off our labor than they already do? Rather than paying writers a small percentage of the money our work makes for them, someone else will be paid for a technology built on our unpaid labor. The writing that AI produces feels cheap because it is cheap. It feels simple because it is simple to produce. That is the whole point. AI is an enormously powerful tool here to stay with the capacity for real societal benefits. But the replacement of art and artists isn't one of them. The purveyors of AI have stolen our work from us and from our publishers too. The hardworking editors and copy editors and publicists and publishers that cared for and developed and launched the books we've written, their jobs are also in jeopardy, which means that book publishing as an art form, a collaborative art form nurtured at every stage by the personal touch of a human being, is in jeopardy too. The audiobook narrators who breathed life into our stories have already been sidelined by cheaper, simpler AI imitators. To add insult to injury, use of AI has devastating environmental effects using great amounts of energy and potable water. What happens next? We want our publishers to stand with us, to make a pledge that they will never release books that were created by machines, to pledge that they will not replace their human staff with AI tools or degrade their positions into AI monitors. We call on our publishers to pledge the following. We will not openly or secretly publish books that were written using the AI tools that stole from our authors. We will not invent authors to promote AI-generated books or allow human authors to use pseudonyms to publish AI-generated books that were built on the stolen work of our authors. We will not use AI built on the stolen work of artists to design any part of the books we release. We will not replace any of our employees wholly or partially with AI tools. We will not create new positions that will oversee the production of writing or art generated by the AI built on the stolen work of artists. We will not rewrite our current employees' job descriptions to retrofit their positions into monitors for the AI built on the stolen work of artists. In all circumstances, we will only hire human audiobook narrators rather than the narrators generated by AI tools that were built on stolen voices. As authors, our future contracts with publishers will reflect these beliefs to every every extent possible. We call on publishers to take a public stand for their authors against the theft of our art and the debased AI work that profits from that theft. This isn't just about those of us who are publishing today, regardless of whether we are able to keep publishing or not. We also believe that it's our duty to make more space for those new authors out there honing their craft, hoping to someday share their work to be fairly compensated for it. We will need their voices like we've always needed the voices of artists. We want you to be the guardians of the future of our work and the work of generations to come. We await your response, we the undersigned. There's a whole list of authors in the undersigned, and I completely wholeheartedly agree with them. Whether publishing is actually going to do anything in response to this and actually, even acknowledge this, who's to say? But I do think that it is great that these authors have spoken up against the use of AI and, have really put their foot down, because if we let these big publishers, these capitalist corporations do these things and essentially rip away the human quality of art, of literature, of these industries that are built upon human emotion and human connection, then that means that we're willing to let them get away with anything. The last thing that I want to say on the subject is just that there is a general sense amongst the public that it's not that serious, that, why should you care so much about this? It's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal. All of these small little concessions that we make to big corporations, to capitalist regimes, that is essentially what allows for 10, 15, 20, 100 years down the line, when we have completely eroded all of our rights as humans and we have given them up to corporations. Little concessions like this in history are what have led us to this point where we are exploiting thousands, millions of people around the world for our own benefit. So every time you think that it's not that serious, it is that serious. Just like how it's serious that platforming problematic authors allows them to continue profiting off of you and other readers and continuously promote their problematic views, just like how that is serious, this is also serious. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I hope that we can have some morals as people and that we can actually stand behind them. So thank you so much for watching and listening to me rant on this subject. I would love to hear all your thoughts on this subject and what you think about the use of AI in the book industry and, in writing and in art and literature, and just the use of generative AI in general. Again, I think like the author letter said, there are uses for AI in some circumstances, but generative AI in the book industry, in publishing, is not it. And I hope that we can come to that agreement and that publishers can actually, walk the walk that they say they will, but it all remains to be seen. Thank you all so much for watching. All my sources are in the description, and I will see you in my next video. So please remember that this story ain't over. Bye.